introduce Chloe McKenzie and Ben Cook. They're both elected HSRs and they work in education. They've been HSRs since 2023 and 2021. Together with other HSRs in their DWG, they've made massive strides in tackling some really complicated psychosocial hazards in their industry. Please welcome Chloe and Ben.
Hi, so my name's Ben and I work as an academic in the Faculty of Arts and have been an HSR since 2021.
And my name's Chloe. I work as a professional staff member in the Faculty of Arts. I was first elected as a HSR in 2023, and the reason I became a HSR is the story that I will be telling you today.
We also want to acknowledge that 3 other HSRs in our DWG who I know on stage with us today, but are very close by, and indeed all the other HSRs across quite a considerable canvas.
I also just want to give a shout out to any HSRs here from the CFMEU today. I've been reading a book and it's very clear to me, I think it's called The Framework of Flesh by Humphrey McQueen. And it's very clear to me that many of the health and safety protections we have today we wouldn't have if it wasn't for the work of workers in the CFMEU and the BLF before them. And just want to shout out, we stand in solidarity with you in your fight to return your union to rank and file worker control. So our story starts when I called Ben about some issues I was having in my team. So there was only me and another staff member in our team, and the department we were assigned to was more than double the size of the other departments. So it meant that we were essentially doing the double the work of our colleagues who were assigned to smaller departments. So this led to stress, leave, burnout, and a number of other physical and psychosocial health issues for us.
So after our requests for an extra person were rebuffed, we decided to issue a PIN for a breach of section 21(1). So WorkSafe visited and advised us to withdraw the PIN on a technicality or they would cancel it, so we did. But even though the PIN was withdrawn, we learned a lot from that experience. I think it might have been the first time in the faculty that a PIN had actually been issued. So we agreed with our OHS director that a risk assessment would be undertaken by the university on the issue of overwork in the team that Chloe was in. This was done much slower than we hoped, and it became clear that without the strict timeline of a PIN, any controls could be really drawn out and action delayed. Also, that to get effective controls in place, we would need to tackle a broader systemic set of issues, and for that we needed more evidence.
So I got myself elected as a HSR, filling a vacancy, and we decided that a HSR survey was a great way to proceed.
So the benefits of doing a survey include that it's entirely anonymous. So we ensured the survey, which we did online, and the platform we used captured no personal data or metadata. The data was only accessible by HSRs, not by management. We assured staff that identifiable statements would not be shared without consultation or redaction. And the survey also identified hazards that are deeply and widely felt across the whole DWG and gives it a kind of quantitative value that you can present in that form. It also gave us a baseline, so the overall survey responses have been archived and we can run the survey again and compare responses over time to determine whether things have improved or got worse.
So we actually use Victorian Casal Council survey template that's up there. You can get on the website, but we did make a few tweaks to it to make it a little bit more relevant to our industry and our DWG, and we also added an ability for staff to leave comments about their experiences. But it wasn't plain sailing. We did come up against a few barriers to rolling the survey out. So one battle that we're still fighting is that our workplace doesn't give us access to a list of staff in our DWGs, and they were resistant to circulating the survey. Our requests for additional data, such as aggregated and anonymised data on sick leave patterns, bullying reports, work cover claims, vacancies, and staffing numbers in our DWG were handballed from senior managers to the OHS team, to HR, and then to workplace relations, who's sort of like the senior HR team across the university. Over a year later, we still haven't received this data. and we are entitled to this information, so it's very frustrating. But with the help of some new HSRs that we've got, so we originally had, I think, 2 of us, and now we've got all 5 positions filled. It's making it much easier for us to continue to fight that battle.
So the level of participation actually took us by surprise. We had 186 surveys completed in about 2 weeks. Our DWG has about 800 staff, with about 600 fixed term and continuing and 200 casuals who, unfortunately, the casuals weren't on the mailing list, which again is an issue with the kind of access to data that we have. So we missed out some people there, but such high levels of engagement really showed us that people felt strongly about the hazards in the workplace.
There was largely a match-up in terms of issues between professional and academic staff, with job demands being the single biggest issue for both cohorts, which I don't think was a surprise to us. And one thing we have been, I guess, putting a lot of effort into highlighting is that there are equity impacts to these. So high job demands and, say, a disability or a single parenting make the impacts very unevenly felt. And we know of several people who, for example, have had to take stress leave of over a year, or have had autoimmune disorders or like chronic pain and injuries that have flared up due to unprecedented levels of high work demands in our sector.
So this is, I think we have now some of the data from the survey. This is the quantitative evaluation. So you can see that just over a third of respondents rated job demands 5 out of 5 issue, very serious issue. And if you include 4 out of 5 responses as well, you can see that over 60% of respondents rate this as 4 to 5 issue.
And we also have some qualitative statements that we collected around job demands. And one that really struck me that I'll read out is, I love my job, but the workload is killing me. I can't do my job in 5 long, 9 or 10 hour days, so I work most weekends, but I still feel behind all the time. I'm exhausted. I'm letting people down. My family is resentful. It's not sustainable. Please help.
It was really important to report back and communicate with the DWG. So we had a workplace meeting with our DWG last year where we shared the results and asked them to weigh in on possible solutions and next steps. We then emailed out the results to all the staff in our DWG and sent it separately to the faculty, to the Dean and Executive Director, so quite high management, with some requests that a working group be formed to talk about solutions to the work practices and systems that needed to be changed. Unfortunately, the working group was never formed, due in part to enterprise bargaining that ramped up in the second half of 2023, meaning the energy and attention of the uni and the workers was directed elsewhere. So we see there that without us pushing, management didn't proactively take it on themselves and let the issue kind of fall away. But despite this, we've had some great wins from the PIN and the survey processes.
So due to the pressure that we put on our faculty, they then went to the university and successfully petitioned them to lift the professional staff caps, which had actually limited the number of professional staff in each faculty to, I think, a certain head count or FTE. And they actually were able to replace it across the university with a ratio of professional staff to academic staff, which meant that departments that had larger academic cohorts would get more professional staff. So it actually meant that in my department, our team of 2 became a team of 4, and another team of 4 became a team of 7. So that's 2 teams that were almost doubled in size because of the pressure we put on. And I think it's the first time in years that myself and some of our colleagues had actually been able to manage our workloads without just basically constant overtime, burnout, and stress. And it was really good because work is engaged over our PIN and survey process, so it helped them realise that being active and participating does drive change, even if it changes slowly. It gave them hope. It destigmatised mental health conversations. And it made people more aware that their frustrations and worries were not individual burdens or a failing on their part, but actually a systemic issue that was impacting many across our faculty and even university. We also had a great impact on other HSRs and union delegates of our organisation who reached out for support in running surveys in their own DWGs. And it's also shone a light on HSRs, and we've had several staff reach out for support across other DWGs in our organisation to nominate for and be elected as HSRs. So it's really brought out the whole, social health and the role of HSRs in a way that I think wasn't visible to people in our organisation before.
So a year on, we ran a second version of the survey, which is, as I said, useful because we have that baseline data from last year and currently processing the results to report back to our DWG. We've now had HSRs from 2 other faculties and 1 central professional staff work area run their own version of the survey. Faculties at other unis have asked us to help them set up something similar. We're working with the NTEU to set up a HSR network across Victorian universities to share resources and advice on these types of issues. So while there's still a lot to be done and things are turning slowly, we think we are making a difference. Thanks.
All right, we have time for a couple of questions. So I'm going to go with the first question.